everyone, welcome to Study IQ English. Let's look at new developments between India and America, especially as we look at the upcoming bilateral trade agreement. What has suddenly happened? What makes America change its sentiment towards India? Now let's quickly go back to 2025. We all know that because India was one of the largest importer of Russian crude oil, that's the Ural oil, America was not happy about that. Russia had been under American sanctions and European sanctions for a very long time, which also meant a cheaper Russian oil. That means more affordable energy security for India. So India continued to do that. And America, citing its unhappiness over that, increased our total trade tariff to about 50%. That is 25% original tariff plus 25% punishment or penalty tariff. As a result, India lost one of the biggest export destination worth $48 billion. Definitely, it has impacted India by creating trade deficit, by rupee value depreciating and being highly volatile. Of course, it impacted exporter profit and confidence. At the same time, it also meant a lot of capital outflow from India. And what did India do? Well, not only did we continue to negotiate with America, but we also responded by diversifying our trade. You all know, in the news we have seen few weeks before we signed the mother of all FTAs with Europe. Then before that was New Zealand. Then there are West Asian countries. Recently we have the Gulf Cooperation Council, and now finally we are also looking at India and America, who have agreed on a framework for an interim trade agreement, an ITA. This will be a build-up to future bigger bilateral trade agreement, and this also aims to de-escalate the tariff tensions that have been going on since last year. The new agreement is therefore being known as a transitional early harvest agreement because we are yet to finalize. But the good thing is that now America says, President Trump says, we might reduce India's tariff from 15% to barely 18%. Now that's a positive news. That means if you look at competitors, India's own competitors in South Asia, including Vietnam, it could be Philippines, it could be China itself. We will get 18% tariff from America, which is lower than what America charges from all these other countries. But a major breakthrough, a major milestone of this great trade deal between the two countries is going to be investment in India AI mission, particularly investment in the GPU access. Now this is all because now America wants to be a stakeholder in the AI mission, India AI mission, a mission that is financed at rupees 10,370 crore. So that mission will now get revitalized. That means a cheaper and smoother access to GPU for Indian startups and Indian researchers in the industry. So these are some of the highlights, but how will it help India and what exactly is going to happen? Let us analyze. So we are looking at what has India committed as a part of this upcoming FTA, rather bilateral trade agreement with America. India will eliminate tariff on US industrial goods. Second, India will also reduce tariff on some American agriculture and food products. Now, this is a contentious matter. Ever since this announcement has come, there has been repeated retaliation from Indian farmers and other agricultural groups. People are saying from the very beginning, India was supposed to protect its sensitive sectors like dairy, like agriculture. When we were negotiating a trade agreement with ASEAN countries, RCEP, India had decided to walk away from RCEP in 2019 because India wasn't ready to open up agriculture and dairy. We did not want our country, our economy to be dumped by much cheaper, at the same time better quality, higher quality dairy and agriculture products. Then what happens now? Initially, India said, no, I will not allow any kind of tariff reduction on agriculture products. But now, because of American pressure, in order to get the tariff punishment or the tariff penalty reduced, India has opened certain select areas for tariff ease in agriculture and dairy. And what has happened? As a result, already there is a massive protest going on against the government. In India, farmers and other Other communities who are thriving on food business are unhappy. They feel they might be threatened by this invasion of American agro products. Now, third thing is, India also wants to talk about non-tariff barriers here, and India is ready to reduce tariffs on that. India will now encourage ease of doing business for American companies, especially with regards to licensing delays and standards restriction. So India will make it easier now. At the same time, India is also moving towards international standards alignment. So no more too much control, no more extra licensing of all the various industrial products. At the same time, India is committing to increase its imports from America, including energy, aircraft, technology and coal. The biggest news, India plans to buy 500 billion US goods over a period of 5 years. Well, so much so for making America happy at the cost of domestic retaliation coming from farmers. What has America committed? Now, this is also controversial. America commits, we will reduce your tariff from 50 to 18%. Naturally, that's going to help us. Ever since that announcement has come, you might have seen in the news, the rupee value is already stabilizing a little bit. Already investors are showing confidence, stock markets are up, and capital outflow has also become stable. So all those are the good developments. At the same time, America says, I will remove tariff on generic pharmaceuticals. Repeatedly, I have explained, India is the leader when it comes to producing generic medication. No wonder we are known as the pharmacy of the global south. Now, what's the difference between generic and patented drugs? How does compulsory license come in the picture? I have spoken about all these, so you can always revisit our previous classes and have a hang of that in case you missed it. Then America will also remove tariff on diamond aircraft parts from India. At the same time, America says, I will provide preferential access in aviation and automobile sectors. Automobile was a severely impacted sector. I told you earlier also, ever since America imposed a 50% tariff on us, labor-intensive, capital-intensive segments like gems and jewelry, apparel, electronic goods, leather, automobiles had severely suffered. So that's a respite now. At the same time, national security tariffs will also be reduced, showing after a long time some trust between these age-old trading partners. Now, from 50 to 18%, that's what the overall sentiment is all about. At the same time, no more punitive, no more punishment-oriented duties linked to India's Russian oil import. That's the biggest news of the time. At the same time, there are certain red flags here. Now look at the last clause on the screen. America says, I will not punish you for buying Russian oil, but does America really mean that? No, it is a conditional offer. It means India will have to keep on reducing its import of Russian Ural oil and switch eventually to buying Venezuelan oil, because now Venezuela is almost a colony of America after Operation Southern Spear and Operation Absolute Resolve, when Venezuelan leader Mr. Nicolas Maduro was taken away by America. Now American companies are going to refine the sticky and the thick and the sulfury Venezuelan oil, but America does expect India to import this oil at the behest of reducing dependence on Russian oil. Now that's a tough nut to crack. India, Russia, age-old partner countries. Remember, recently the 23rd annual Russia-India summit. What did our Prime Minister say? He said that India, Russia are like pole stars to each other. The friendship is long lasting, not just now, right since the time of 1971 Indo-Pakistan war. Russia has stood by us, and therefore in the recent past, India has received most of its energy security by being one of the top 3 importers of Russian oil. It's cheaper, it's easy to transport, and it can be easily refined in India. Despite it being sulfury, high sulfur content, suddenly switching to Venezuela? No. Even the oil refiners have not shown a positive sentiment, but this looks like a tough decision here. Will it also impact India-Russia relationship, which is anyway very, very advanced, not just in oil energy, but also in defense? That's a question here. Now, looking at other aspects of this trade agreement, you have technology and digital cooperation. Both countries in this upcoming BTA, bilateral trade agreement, talk about trading in high-tech goods like GPU. Now, this is crucial. GPU because India as of now does not have a very advanced capacity to manufacture domestically GPU components. So that means these are now the need for so many startups and so many researchers who are working in the AI domain. A deal with America can definitely help us in fulfill this gap. At the same time, innovation and supply chain is another area. Now, when you look at dispute, what are the disputes here? Then this trade agreement will also solve the problems regarding data localization, cross-border data flows and e-commerce regulations. In the past, we have seen how President Trump has been very, very conservative about sharing technologies like AI chip fabrication, about the fact that India should not be the destination for outsourcing American jobs. America has been conservative. In fact, it also charged a very high fine for H-1B visa. 70% of H-1B users are Indians, and therefore it meant America is trying to step away from India as a leading partner when it comes to migration as well. But now those things are getting relaxed. At the same time, America also says we will take benefit of India's new Shanti bill. So in the nuclear domain, in the nuclear energy domain, as we have now decided to privatize and liberalize the nuclear sector by inviting private participation, FDI, America will invest here. That means more renewable energy for India. If right now it is only 8%, you all know that India does plan to expand it to about 100 units, say, in another few years. So that's a segment in which America is going to help. Now, what is the strategic significance of this deal? One, this supports China One supply chain strategy. And what do you mean by that? China One supply chain means now no country wants to completely depend on China. They want to diversify their supply chains. We know China dominates the supply chain not just of critical minerals, rare earth material, but also it's the biggest manufacturing hub across most electric and industrial goods. Now, America also doesn't want to exclusively depend on China. This policy of shifting away from China and also having supply chain contracts with other countries is China plus one supply chain strategy. It very closely resonates with a recent effort that was initiated from America in the news called Pax Silica. You must know about that. At the same time, this deal also means better manufacturing in India, more jobs in India. Most of the sectors which are getting tariff respite are all export-oriented sector, more foreign direct investment flow, better market, better certainty for India's own rupee value. So all these are the benefits, and at the same time, don't forget that India has always played this balancing role. If we have now opened up to better trade with China, at the same time, we know we must be quite cautious of China when it comes to the Indo-Pacific and the Indian Ocean region. And that's why American partnership is non-negotiable. Now look at the Quad platform. India keeps this strategic balance. On the one hand, you have Quad, the forum which tries to create a transparent and rule-based Indo-Pacific against China. On the other hand, India also is a key participant in platforms like BRICS, which America sees as anti-American. At the same time, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, both these dominated by China. Yes, so that balancing act, that's the strategic significance of this trade with America. At the same time, there are certain red flags and challenges too. The biggest one is agriculture concern. As I said, India had committed to protecting its sensitive sectors like dairy and agriculture. Today, farmers are asking a question. If you open up these sectors by reducing tariff on American imports, what if our market becomes a dumping site for all these cheap products? Then what? Will Indian agriculture, will sector including farmers and dairy cultivators, will they suffer? That's a question. At the same time, 18% reciprocal American tariff is still quite high. It will continue to impact India's labor-intensive sectors which generate too much employment in India, particularly informal sector employment. Now, another issue is rules of origin enforcement. It's very difficult to implement rule of origin. And what do you mean by that? See, rule of origin means if America and India have decided a bilateral trade agreement, then no third country should benefit from that. It is a very bad and a poor strategy if another country, for example China, manufactures products and the products are only assembled or labeled in India and then sent to America. Now these goods will be coming from India on paper. and they will qualify for all the tariff benefits in America. But in reality, where were they produced? In reality, they were produced in China, or say for example Taiwan, or for example Vietnam. In India, we only had the assembly and only the packaging done. But now because they are coming from India, they get the tariff benefit, and that is not valid. No third country should get the benefit. The benefit only should go to Indian and American producers, and that's why we should allow this rerouting. Very important, rules of origin, WTO, World Trade Organization. Another issue is India-Russia relationship. Now, India-Russia relationship is the pole star we know. Today, by reducing import of Russian oil and shifting towards Texas oil, American oil, not only is it a financial burden on India, at the same time it may also upset India-America relationship apple cart, and that's not a good idea. Already in the news we saw yesterday in the Hindu class at 9:30 a.m. in the morning on StudyIQ English, I told you that Indian import of Russian oil has seen an all-time low. The lowest ever now it has become in the last 38 months. That's almost 3 years. Now that's a red flag here. Then risk of higher oil import bill. Naturally, you will experience a current account deficit if you buy expensive Texas oil from America. That is dangerous. It may predispose us to more inflation in the future. And then ultimately, we also need to understand concerns of the MSME sector. Last but not the least, in America, you have a very tough quality, a very high standards for all the food and non-food products that will be sent from India to America. This should remind you of the India-EU trade deal and the carbon border adjustment mechanism. What was CBAM? I told you in my lecture. This is a non-tariff trade barrier. It is good for environment, but Indian manufacturers pay a heavy price here. Similarly today, if you look at India-America trade deal, now what do you mean by SPS? SPS means sanitary and phytosanitary measures. That means we must maintain a high quality of products that should not impact the health, the safety, the climate across food, animals and plants. Although these are good, these are very good for environment and health, but to abide by these rules in manufacturing is a tough call for Indian manufacturers. Similarly, look at TBT. What do you mean by that? Now, TBT, technical barriers to trade. That means tariff is not just the only barrier. Tariff is just the duty that you ask for. Apart from tariff, there are other issues. Say, for example, machinery safety rules. They are important. At the same time, consumer safety. Is your product abiding to the health and environmental regulation abroad? If yes, it qualifies to be sold outside. If not, it will be taxed heavily. And then how will your exporters get any benefit from that? So these are certain questions, like CBAM is with EU. With America, we do have these questions. Now, these are non-tariff barriers, and these are still not very clear in this deal. So all in all, what we understand is that right now, India is once again walking the tightrope. We are still trying to maintain that balance. We are happily negotiating this trade deal, but then there is this, gray area that what about agriculture? What about dairy? What about these tough standards, the TBT standards and the SPS standards? Will India be able to live up to that? Will this trade deal indeed benefit us, or are we just doing it this trade deal because we really want the tariff to come down from 15 to 18? And what about Russia? So on all that, remember that the deal is still in the making, and definitely it's a major milestone in case it is finalized in times to come. Now quickly the question, consider the following statements regarding India-America interim trade agreement. 1. This trade agreement is intended to change the proposed comprehensive bilateral trade agreement. 2nd, America has agreed to remove all tariff imposed under national security provisions on Indian export across sectors. And 3, India has agreed to address non-tariff barriers like licensing delays, standard delay, restrictions and regulatory barriers which affect sectors like medical devices and ICT goods. Quite an easy question. Try to answer the question, and for the answer you can then join our Telegram community. Not just for the answer but also for the PDF, one interesting question every day, language improvement and current affairs. Be a part of our growing community by scanning the code given here. And now a quick reminder, a quick announcement. We are running the SIP Success in Prelims sale. At the same time, we are also running the extremely important flat 50% sale. Now, We want our students to clear the UPSC exam, especially the Prelims 2026, because now it's coming near. So the batch is starting on 10th February with price as low as 4999. So enroll today, and if you want more discount, use code SPLIVE. At the same time, you can crack the exam with that confidence. We are also offering flat 50% off on all the courses, whether it's 26, 27 or 2028, but it's a limited time period offer. So at flat 50% off, also you can use SPLIVE to get more benefit, but enroll now because the flat 50% is just a limited time period, so that there's a guarantee that you get selected in the UPSC exam. So join the sales today and definitely succeed in the UPSC. Thank you so much.